Welcome everybody to First Center for Spiritual Living. This is our self-healing class where we're using the book You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. Louise Hay probably was one of our most famous students here at the center. We were formerly called First Church for Religious Science in New York City. Welcome. I see all of you on the Zoom. I know there's people signing on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook live. You can, in our chat, we can send you a link or you can connect with us and join us on the Zoom, because afterwards there's always a time where people can interact and share. So please do that. Also, we have a weekly e-letter. Sometimes we have some really good spiritual gems in there, and if you send your contact information, we can connect you and keep you up to date. So tonight's lesson is going to be about healing in general, and maybe a little bit we'll focus on giving thanks and the idea of giving across the board. We have an expanding curriculum all the time. There's something close to 53 or 4 lessons now that we have every Thursday. Also want to invite you to Sunday mornings. 10:45 is our meditation, and 11 a.m. is our lesson. So, as I said, Louise was a student at this center. I found her book in 1986-87, and I started presenting her material to groups in Florida, where I saw great things happen. I saw people really begin to work with the idea of self-healing, and actually I was able to witness a lot of people change their lives for the better. So in the New Testament, because we're talking about giving and giving thanks, we're advised to give thanks in all of our circumstances, okay? And Eric Butterworth would say that this is the source's will for us, is to give thanks. And the grateful heart is another phrase that comes from spiritual economics in his book. In all things, have a grateful heart, give thanks. In other words, if we want to heal our lives, one of the things we can do is we can start challenging ourselves to come from a place of gratitude. There's a lot of things going on in the world right now, as you know. There's a lot of things going on in this city, as some of you may know. You can't help but hear about it everywhere you go. And now everything that's happening, not just in this country, but in Europe, there's a lot of things happening in the world, and there seems to be a lot of fear in people's hearts and minds. You could even say there's a sense of chaos in some places. And when this stuff is going on, it's real easy for people to tap into a sense of lack, lack of peace, lack of caring, a belief in there being a lack of resources. When we're witnessing, war, really tough things to witness, mass migration, we're seeing people's lives disrupted in all kinds of unthinkable ways. And in this teaching, we look to our own self, and we look to our own consciousness, and we take these types of things back to ourselves, if we're smart. And so I was looking at this week for myself. Where might I be in lack? Where might I be in resistance? And what we learn here in the teaching, and as we learn to practice the teachings, we pay attention to our inner thoughts, our judgments, because we know this inner dialogue is as creative as it can be. Wherever I've experienced, or you've experienced, any lack of harmony this week, or peace, or anything, really, it's always an opportunity to take a look at what's coming up for you. And what's in it for me? I can take a pause and I can ask myself when I'm disjointed or unhappy, what's here for me to learn? And in New Thought and metaphysics, and as we learn to heal our lives, we take it back to ourselves and what we're thinking and what we're creating. We're starting to understand, as you're coming into a greater understanding of this teaching, the challenges that we're experiencing are not so much in the outer world, though things in the outer world can be a disturbance for us. The challenges that we have really are about the way we're interpreting the things that are happening, and what we're holding on to in the way of our own beliefs. And sometimes we have a need to be right, and that causes problems, or we have a need to make other people something else. So we have a need to make people wrong, and we have a scorecard sometimes that we keep against ourselves and against others, and you might fall into a trap of assessing who's right and who's wrong, and this presents all kinds of challenges for a spiritual being because you're here in this, you're awakening in this spiritual activity. You live and move and have your being in this spiritual activity. And you have to wrestle with the idea that all is well. This is all divine activity unfolding, in my life and your life and life period. And in my life, when things are messy, it'd be real easy to blame the other person, right? And it's not about blame. So that's the first thing, is you can take the fingers back, and we're not going to make it about ourselves or others. We notice, because life is unfolding all the time in me and you, and it's doing so perfectly. So if you're experiencing a lot of challenges or a lot of lack, and you're involved in stories where you're creating these taglines of "ain't it awful" and all that type of thing, maybe it's a challenge for you, but the antidote to all of that is to see things spiritually, to see things metaphysically, to come to the understanding that everything is God in action, everything is life unfolding. So how do you do that? Well, first of all, we have to center ourselves in an awareness that this spiritual activity is here and it's now. It's always present, even though we may not be connected with it. So we come into this teaching and we contemplate the allness of God. We contemplate the allness of Spirit, the omnipresence. Okay, those three words when I was younger: omnipresence, omnipotence, and omniscience. So that would suggest, okay, this thing is present in the smallest particle, and it's in the furthest place. It's a presence, it's a power, it is all power, it is all creativity, it is everything everywhere, and it lives and moves and has its very existence in you. It is that which animates you and me and all of us. So the very idea of these words ought to move something within us, where you can go to there's an expression, there's not a spot that you can imagine where God is not. And everywhere in the universe, it simultaneously exists. It exists fully, and it exists completely within you. And it's always wooing you. And it's always giving you lessons and opportunities to learn and to step up and to see things differently. Those of us who found ourselves in a spiritual center like this, and we're engaging in truth studies, new thought studies, where we're learning the law of attraction, the law of cause and effect. We're learning to heal our lives. Those of you who are here, you've stumbled upon a really great and tremendous gift. You may not know it as a gift. It's been called the pearl of great price. It's that thing that's within you that if you fan it just a little, if you just fan it a bit, and it sparkles and it grows and it awakens you, you're going to then realize, oh my God, I'm one with the one, and I get to create my life in amazing ways. I'm here for a very brief time, and I'm here to shine, and I'm here to express, and I'm here to learn to love my life and love others. And I don't have time for the pain, and I don't have time for the story of who's wrong and who's right, and it's just I don't have time for that anymore. As we mature in this understanding, as we work with self-healing, you understand the tale with, I think it was with Jesus. It's time for you to be about Spirit's business. You've been squabbling around doing the other stuff for quite a while maybe, and that's not enlightened living. You can connect with this source that's within you, and you can allow it to inform you, and you can make lots of different, more empowering decisions. Whatever is in you is so beautiful and so exquisite. It just needs you to remember that it's there. So that's one of the songs that go with the Louise Hay material. Remembering and forgetting. It's the game that we play. When we remember we're connected, it's like a field blooms. When you remember that you're connected, your relationships become harmonious. When you remember that you're connected with all good, then you don't worry about what's missing. When you know that you're connected, that awareness opens up doors in mind, and opportunities open up for you, it would seem everywhere. It's always about remembering who you are and connecting with that energy, and just as you center yourself in it and contemplate it, you're opening up the very doors so you can receive the good. The kingdom, if you want to call it a kingdom, is at hand. It's always been here. But it's really the few that really understand it. They used to say it's the best kept secret in the world because people are searching for God in every place but where it is. So this creative power, we call it source, we call it God, we call it many names, it's in us and it's operating through us. And it operates through us, through our consciousness. So if you want to be healing your life, you want to be opening yourself up. First of all, you want to center yourself in the awareness that I am one with this divine energy, and know that it responds. And if I proclaim health and wealth and wholeness and peace, if I see peace, if that's my overriding concern, then if that's my vision, then peace is what I'm going to have. In our teaching years ago, they said, this teaching really is about transcendence. You're looking. It's not that you're ignoring the facts, because the facts are the facts. We don't ignore them. We're not stupid. But we're looking beyond the facts to an overriding or over-encompassing truth. The idea that there is this power, there is this love, there is this energy permeating all things and all people everywhere. So we're not taking sides so much with things. We're not here to make people wrong. We know that life is unfolding perfectly all the time and in every one. It's really tough for us to witness pain and see people work out in consciousness what they need to work out in consciousness. I'm always informed by some of my students. I talk about Agatha frequently because she's one of our practitioners. And when I've ever called her, how are you doing? And she'll say, good, just like you. And what have you been doing? And she'll say, I'm working on me. She's not working on the world problems. She's not working on the things that are external. She's always working on herself and her consciousness. And really that's the way of it for a person who's healing their lives, is they're removing their focus from people, places, and things and externals, and they're really working on love, loving yourself, forgiving yourself. Louise Hay would say, I love, accept, and approve of you exactly as you are. And she would be saying that as a statement that you would say to yourself as you would look in the mirror. I love, accept, and approve of you exactly as you are. And notice what comes up for you when you do that. Things will come up. Well, geez, I've made a lot of mistakes. Oh, I don't look so good. I'm a mess. Whatever it is, that underlying current of negativity is the very thing that we are, we're here to consciously neutralize and replace with the ideas of truth. We live in a spiritual system. It's divinely unfolding in all places and all people. It's evoluting. It's a word that was taught to me by Dr. Bill Tolliver. Evoluting. The spirit in me is evolving, and it's churning, and there's an internal guidance system, and it won't be happy for long, because you're here to always learn to be expressing more and to be engaged in life. Life will never be like it was yesterday or last year. It just doesn't work that way. It's divine and it's perfect and it's unfolding, bringing me and all of us lessons we need to expand and grow. And we grow personally, we grow as we're involved with other people. Things come up in our relationships and they cause us to grow like crazy. We observe life and we observe lots of things in life that are pleasant and beautiful, and we see a lot of things that we don't like. But the thing is, we always come back to ourselves and we look to ourselves and we take a look at what our conversation is about. So this course is always designed for you to remember the truth of who you are and what you are. And to know that everything you're witnessing, even the stuff you don't like, is spirit in action. Even the stuff that looks unpleasant and messy is still spirit in action. Spirit is evolving. Spirit is in everything, now and at all time and all at once. Again, it's unfolding in messy situations that are not fun to witness. It's always going forward and it's expanding. And it goes forward and life evolves by means of its creation, and each of us are part of that creation. Each of us are points of awareness in this consciousness. When we think of this universal spirit that we're communing with daily, and all we have to do is take that pause and become mindful, center ourselves. We can learn how to do affirmative prayer, where we center ourselves in this awareness that there is this perfection in us operating through us. And as we become aware of it, we can tell ourselves again, I am whole, and I am supplied, and I am supported, and I am prosperous, and all good is mine. See, as you state those statements, those are statements of truth, and you're aligning yourself in that process with what the universe actually is. That's much different than praying for something you want or praying for someone to do something you want. When you get engaged in this type of affirmative living, you're making statements that are profoundly true, and if anything comes up contrary to that in your awareness, like you feel like, oh my God, I'm broke, or I'm hurting, or there's not enough. That's our opportunity to actually engage with spirit, and we have what we call executive power. That's the time where you can notice what comes up in terms of your feelings and your thoughts, and you can energetically turn that around and make statements of truth. And if you go to our textbook, it's Dr. Holmes who said affirmative prayer will be the time, the art, the method of ridding that negation, that negativity from our consciousness. So we work with our consciousness, and we work at it a lot, actually. The thing about this teaching is the more you do it, there's a quickening that happens. I think it's as simple as just paying attention to what your conversation is with you. And also, like I come out of a 12-step background 41 years ago, almost 42. They advise people to take a daily inventory. Well, it's really good advice, because if you can get in the habit of journaling and or taking an inventory, it's just so you can reflect on where your hits were and where your misses were for that given day. Because if you want the outer world to improve, it's all about changing that inner dialogue. So it pays great dividends to pay attention to what you're spinning. And it's not intelligent to keep doing the same thing over and over again, right? You've heard the story about the person who's walked down around the corner and fell into the sidewalk. And then he or she did it again the second day and the third day, and they did it, I think, 5 times. And finally they decided, after enough pain and falling into the hole, that they were going to take a different route. Well, I'm suggesting for all of you, and myself included, to trust that guidance that's in us, and so we can take a different route. I come from a family like everybody. Generations of people taught generations of people, and A lot of the stuff that they taught us was really wonderful, and a lot of it was, as one of my teachers said, highly suspect. So we've come a long way, all of us. We've grown a lot in our own lifetimes, and we can do more. We can express more. We can heal our lives. So we can level up a lot more. If you're in this teaching, you're really working it. Do the things you can do. Journal if you can. Spend some time in meditation and prayer. Keep working with your affirmations, because you've been given a great gift in this teaching. It's something to treasure. We understand consciousness, so we know that there's not a spot where this intelligence isn't, or there's not a spot where God is not. So we have the opportunity, wherever there's discord, to see. You can tell yourself, I can see peace instead of this. I can understand that this person, place, or situation they're doing the best they can. We're here in this teaching to be lifters. We're here to be the applauders. We're the ones that can make the connections with other people, because we don't hold on to acrimony, we don't hold on to grudges, and we're really not about judgment, because as we're healing our lives, we're understanding that everyone else is wherever they are, and they're all evolving as we are too. So I'll close with one more thing, I think, because it was kind of powerful. I had a conversation this week with someone who's doing some work at the center with the heating and ventilation, and he has a college-age son, and his son almost lost his life 6 or 8 months ago, and somehow miraculously his boy is still alive. And he was describing to me today that how his son is learning how to speak again, and what he and his wife have been through with their son. And he's at last walking a little bit, a few feet, 5 or 10 minutes. And they're doing this with their son, the mother and father, and he's like a high school, just about college age young man. And so when I spoke to him this week, all I could hear, he was describing the gratitude he lives with. That he and his wife are so grateful to God. They're so grateful, they have no words to describe the gratitude. I could see it shining from the inside of him out. And even though he's only working a few hours a week and his wife is only working a few hours a week, all their effort is just in joy that they're able to have this time with their son. And they're so extremely grateful that their boy is going to be living and he's making progress. 6 months ago, they were feeding him, and all they could notice were his eyes blinking. So that conversation, of course, helped me quite a bit this week to put things in perspective. It kind of like capped off, what I was preparing for this lesson. And then he parted telling me, as he was leaving, he said he was saying to his son, who is now only walking again slowly, he was saying to his son earlier this week, life is such a beautiful thing. It's so brief and so beautiful. We don't have time for the small stuff. We're here to love and we're here to learn. And we're grateful for every moment. Okay, there's one more section I want to go over tonight from Louise Hay's book. And this section is called The Willingness to Release the Need. You've heard me speak of that. Louise would say, I say to clients, there must be a need in you for this condition, whatever the condition is, right? Or you wouldn't have it. So then she invites them to take a step back and work on the idea of having the willingness to release the need. So whatever conditions in your life is there for some reason, right? It doesn't happen by accident. So she's suggesting that we develop within ourselves a willingness to release the need for the situation. And she goes on to say, when the need is gone, you will have no desire, say for the cigarette or overeating or whatever the negative pattern is, right? When the need is gone, you won't have the desire for these things. And she has an affirmation. One of the first affirmations to use when you're trying to overcome something like this is, I am willing to release the need for resistance. I'm willing to release the need for the headache or the constipation. I'm willing to release the need for the dis-ease or the sorrow. I'm willing to release the need for lack of money or whatever it is. I've been using this for years myself. I would say I'm willing to release the need for it. Sometimes you can't fully understand why things are happening. And you don't want to live your life like a victim, I'm sure. And you don't want to think, poor me, and so on and so forth. Because that keeps you in a place where you're not empowered. So this is really a wonderful tool. And you can say it again, I'm willing to release the need for this. And if you're still resisting at this point, then your affirmations can't work if you're stuck in a belief in a place where, you can say, I know all is well, but you really don't believe it. So you really want to work on that. She went on to say, the webs that we create around ourselves need to be unwound because we have a lot of blind spots. Other disciplines call it racket. We have BS. We have a mountain of stuff, which Louise is referring to as the webs that we create around ourselves need to be unwound. If you have ever untangled a ball of string, you know that yanking and pulling only makes it worse. You need to very gently and lovingly and patiently unravel some of this stuff that's been within you for quite a while. Be loving, be gentle with yourselves, and patient as you untangle your own mental thoughts and your ideas. This could be all the things that I've learned since I was a little boy or girl. We're going to lovingly let them go one by one. We're going to release the need for them. And, she went on to say, if you can't figure this out on your own, get help. You can call the center, you can speak to me or speak to Reverend Judith or someone that you know that that has the wisdom to guide you through this process. None of us at the center teach dependence on us. We understand that you really have all that you need, but you have to be willing to go through this nothing will change, right, if nothing changes. So part of the process of living in new moments is learning to let go of the past and release the past and release the need for some of these situations that seem coming around and round and round. The willingness to let go of the old is the key. It is the secret, because you really want to be able to be in the now, in the new moment, free of judgment and completely there with positive expectancy, where life is wonderful and it's responding to me right here, right now. And gratitude usually is misery is optional, as you'll hear us discuss, and gratitude is usually a key that will open up many, many doors for us to grow. So we can take our break, and I'll see you at the other side of the break. Thank you. Welcome.